Oh man. There, how's that? You went before there. Let's get to see more than what you want. Okay. Good evening, folks. Can I have your attention? I want to thank you all very, very much for joining us. I'm going to move over because I see the camera is recording this here. So my name is Marcus Pocker. We're going to actually have a number of people introduce themselves. I'm going to be a little bit of a host tonight for that. So I know we have a number of neighbors in the room tonight. So we're really excited to meet you, to go through our presentation and give you a little background. Before we do that, though, we'd love to hear from the city and hear the background of this process and the meeting. And so we'll turn over to the city planner and then we'll come back and talk through that. Okay? So go right ahead.
Thank you. Hi everybody, my name is Carson Meyerhoff. I am the city planner of the city of Westminster. I'm the project planner for this project here today. This is a developer-run project. It's not a city project, but the project meeting or neighborhood meeting is one of the requirements in our process for any project that has to go for public hearings. This project has to go for planning commission for approval, and so that drives the need for this project meeting today. The city doesn't take any sort of formal stance on approval or denial of a project until it goes through the entirety of the technical review process. However, we do welcome any comments that we may have at this point to incorporate whatever they may have with their design or presentation today for staff to consider as part of our recommendation for the hearing body as well. And we can take those comments at any point through the development review process, which includes all the way up to the public hearing and the night of the public hearing with the planning commission itself as well. Other than that though, I'm here if you guys have any sort of questions that you wanted to ask about the technical requirements for from the city or the processes. But other than that, I'll hand it over to the team to explain the project and take it from there. Thank you.
Thanks, Marcus. Go right ahead. All righty. Well, Marcus has already welcomed you. I am Randy Danielson with Opus. I'm the Senior Director of Development for them and the lead developer on this project. Tonight, just kind of our agenda is we'll go through kind of our team, city process. Carson hit on a little bit. We'll go in a little bit more detail. A little bit of the guiding documents that guide our project, both from the city side and from the approved Foster Farms ODP and PDP. And then we'll get into kind of our specific projects, and then we'll kind of end up with a Q&A opportunity for you guys to go ahead and ask us questions. So we'll go ahead and get started with introducing the overall team. Again, Opus is the developer on that. Locally, we have HR Green, who is John. John is, has worked on the master plan with Foster Farms, and then is our civil engineer. We're Malcolm. Isaac is our architect of record locally here in Denver. And then Chuck Chapman, Eric is representing them tonight, who is kind of the master developer. So we're working through approvals both with the city and through the master developer in terms of our project. And then we have Marcus and Jasper with the Packner Group, who are working with us through the entitlement process. You may know a little bit about Opus or nothing. We've been in Denver here for about 35 years. We're a family-owned business that's headquartered out of Minneapolis with about 7 offices around the country. We sit here in Denver and have been here for about 35 years. And really have done a lot of different types of projects, both from multifamily to senior housing, retail, office, industrial. So we have a wide gamut experience of up and down the Front Range in work that we have done. Some of the biggest thing about us is quality. We're very focused on providing a quality product in the areas and communities that we go. Kind of the tagline at the bottom is enduring commitment to help communities thrive. Our process wants to make an impact on the community and be a great neighbor, both as we're developing and after. One of the interesting things about Opus is we also have a foundation that gives out into communities that we live in and that we work in. So there are, I think last year was about $5 million in terms of 110 different communities that Opus gave money back to the community, both in terms of dollars and volunteers.
Great, I'm going to jump in here. Folks, we're going to go back and forth, and I know we'll just be kind of informal. Yes, we have Q&A at the end of the meeting, but if you need a clarifying question or something you'd like for us to clarify, just raise your hand and we'll be happy to do so. Again, Marcus Pochner, we are a strategic communications firm that really works on development issues, and I'm local here in Colorado, actually grew up in Colorado, know and love this neighborhood very, very well. My brother lives, I can see his house from here, as a matter of fact. So the way we approach community outreach is something we call concentric outreach, where we work with the most adjacent neighbors because you are the most impacted neighbors. We actually believe that provides for wonderful feedback. We mean impact in a very positive way that you can help us shape the project and plan. I will reinforce today what both Carter and Randy said is that we are in kind of a latter stage. We're in the official development plan. So we are complying with the underlying preliminary development plan. So we have some guidance here. There's uses that are determined, but we really want to show that and get that same feedback from all of you. We also work with larger community stakeholders and then of course the broader community stakeholders as well. Just to kind of reiterate where we are in the process, there is an adopted PDP here, and Eric again is with the firm that took that PDP through the process, is the owner of the site today. So we are stepping in and have made a formal application. Why we are here with the city, we have made that application, having that neighborhood meeting. We have that big circle there. It's a very iterative process that we walk through. It could have 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 submittals in that referral and review. The city, I think actually Westminster does it better than anybody else. They really value what you say, what neighbors say, and how to integrate that in. Ultimately, as was pointed out, this goes to Planning Commission. We will take this, present this to Planning Commission, and honestly almost a similar format to what we're presenting to you tonight. So please give us feedback, and we'd love to hear from you. As you can see here, this actually, that kind of light blue there, oval, shows the notice area. So all of you obviously receiving those notices to the 2 or 3 adjacent neighborhoods. It was about 355 people were notified in this, and then of course respectively through the neighborhood associations as well. You all know the site. Randy and I will go back and forth, but literally just to the east right of Lexington, we'll actually show this in more of all the Foster Farms parcels, right? So we'll talk about our parcel, but this is our site. And Randy, maybe if you can just kind of frame north and south, kind of where we're at there on our site.
Yeah. So the top of the page, towards the top of the page is north, south is at the bottom, and then we've got kind of the whole canal kind of running through a portion of the property that will eventually get relocated.
Terrific. So folks, when we look at a plan, we always look at neighborhood feedback and also the underlying comprehensive plan. So this again already has an adopted PDP, but this shows the documents. We look at the comp plan and then that recorded PDP, the guidance for how we will develop and plan the site. This shows it just to almost reintroduce this if you weren't aware of the PDP process. This site is called Employment Flex, right? So Flex Industrial Employment Buildings, that's the designation, that kind of purple color there. So that's been the long-term goal of that site. It's in the 2040 comp plan, so it shows that as that. Certainly, you would note on that map, you obviously live to the west of that, a very different type of zoning and comprehensive plan, right? So seeing the transition again to the Employment Flex. This gives you a little bit, I won't go into detail, but it shows what is employment flex, what does that mean? Flexible employment uses, office research. It actually shows some of the primary uses and secondary uses. the types of uses that you could expect on the site. So it just shows a little bit of that employment flex. Also, additionally, this is a really important area in the comp plan for the city of Westminster. Is what they call a focus area, North I-25 focus area. Just shows a little bit more detail. The city has put an incredible amount of time, and with feedback from neighbors, really thinking about these integral sites, and that's part of the process, why we're involved, why we think this is such an important site to share with all of you. This is that recorded PDP. So this was Eric and his team, owners of the site, and taking it through. This is what that document looks through. So I just will say, a lot of times it is a very detailed, but kind of an overview, almost an envelope or bubble plan of what will happen there. And then we come along, and at the ODP, the official development plan, we really start to fill that in. We provide a lot of context. We have one of the parcels and how we will develop it. You see the PDP there was land uses, maximum densities, patterns, circulation patterns, buffers. A lot of those things are there, and now we're compliant really within that established PDP. This shows Randy's site, Opus's site here, or planning area 2, right? So just so everybody sees that, there are 4 planning areas, distinct planning areas in the site. We are talking tonight just about the employment flex parcel 2. That is the presentation we're working on. So Randy will go through this if there's anything that we need to edify or bring forward, but Randy will now walk us a little bit through our official application, what we're working through on the official ODP. Yeah.
Overall, our project site is basically 3 buildings, totaling 386,000 square feet. Based on kind of where that market is, we will have tenants that are more regional and local that are kind of in the 15 to 80,000 square foot. Really kind of designed both on kind of building size that we have, and then also kind of the market that we're going after on this project.
This is a turn, folks. Sorry, the screen doesn't look right when we do it. So I just want to, you're not going crazy. We've turned the image a little bit. North would be to the right of the screen.
Yeah,
okay,
so
folks.
Building A sits on the north side, and then Building B is on the west side, Building C is on the east side of the south end of the project. So we've got those 3 different buildings ranging from 88,000 square feet up to 194 on Building B for our site. You'll kind of see from this plan and the other ones in terms of kind of the landscaping that is in the area, both on our site. We also have work that we need to do as part of the right-of-way work. That is some additional landscaping that is going in there that we're doing on behalf of the master developer as we develop our site. So the buffer is both on the right-of-way and then interior to the site. So we wanted to try to do a few sections in terms of kind of an analysis of from different points on the project, what it kind of looks like. And John, you can correct me, but really what we're looking at is like on A, it's not going from the section of the building to the roadway. It's really going from edge of building to kind of the first residential area that we have going down. The dots were just placed in areas where we could specifically see them. So
I just want to show you folks, when we go to the section here, this is what we're describing, right? So we're going to show what that looks like from landscaping to the edge of residential, the street, which is Huron Street and over, okay? So just again to show, we're going to start with section A, which is on the northern end of this site, right? And then we'll go to B, C closest there from a single family home, and then D is actually north from 138. So this is, you can walk through section A.
yeah, so section A on the west in terms of kind of the building to the edge of right-of-way is about 73 feet. You've got the right-of-way that is currently there, that is staying as is of 170 feet, and then kind of to the existing residential is another 181 feet. So we're about 425 feet from the building to kind of building on the residential side. On the east side, we're right up next to kind of Orchard Parkway, with a separation, probably that's about 170 feet from right away to the building. As we go down further on the site to south, that's where there's a big gap in terms of where kind of existing residential starts on that side. So we've got more than 284 feet to kind of the residential area on that section. To the east, you can see the right-of-way on the right. Our site gets down and it comes back up to kind of where the building elevation starts.
Great. Fine, so we're just going through a brief overview of the presentation. We're doing some cross sections of the plan development right now. And at the upper right there, you can see where we're showing the cross section. So if anybody is curious, that always shows that. So now C here and D shows from your neighborhood the view across this site.
Yeah, so this is on the far south end of the site. You can see the red dot up there. So we're about 378 feet from building to building, with both in terms of buffers on Huron's west side, along with the right-of-way landscaping and our landscaping on the east side. And then section C is really looking at a new intersection that's being done by the master developer, 138th, that kind of bisects our site and planning area 1 and connects between Huron and Orchard, looking north on that section. So overall, in terms of now we've kind of stepped into the site, so we're kind of inside of the landscaping buffers in terms of the elements of the building. Two-story glass on the corners and in mid-sections of the building. We've got glass down on the first level that wraps around the corners. So kind of the white on the lower level are basically what we call punch-out opportunities. So as tenants come in, some of them need their office laid out a little bit different, and at that point we can go ahead and knock out those panels and install glass. So we've got those kind of across the front of the building and down the side a little bit. We've got some wood up and around the front entries in terms of the two-story element, and then are going with a rib look, which is kind of the upper panels as we go across here. That gives us a little look, and then we've got a smaller section of windows that go across the main entry points and then bisect the building in various patterns down the building.
One thing I note here before Randy jumps back in again, you see the area that you're looking at there. The city was really mindful of making sure that our berming and our landscaping really came over anything that would have parking or headlights or anything like that. So you wouldn't see really the vehicle interaction. And that's why you're seeing some of that screening there and the specificness of why the berms are there and the landscaping. So again, on your side, the neighborhood side, looking west, looking at the site, that's the image there. So anything particular, Randy, but that's the site looking directly across the site.
Yeah, this is the far southwest section, corner of the project, kind of looking back northeast. And you can see in terms of the right-of-way landscaping that will be completed, and then along with the interior site landscaping that will be taking place.
Yeah, go ahead. This is flipping the image, folks, right? So now you're actually looking back to the northwest, right? But you're in the southeast corner of the site, really looking at kind of the substantial berming and buffering as it transitions over to Orchard. So that's the bird's eye.
Yeah. So this is over at the northeast or southeast corner, kind of looking back across the project to the northwest. Inside here, we've got, kind of to your left, we actually have a easement that is already there for long-term drainage. And then over on the east side over here, we'll basically have we've got a pocket park that's just across the canal, and then we've got kind of landscaping all the way throughout, going up Orchard Road. Now this is 138th in terms of what I was just kind of talking about. Old Canal will be relocated. That will be coming through kind of where the pedestrians are as they come through. And then as we get further west on the site, we've got kind of that drainage channel that ends up flowing into the receptor over on the far southeast side.
I think this is just flipping that, looking back on 138th again, more
Yeah.
from Huron perspective. So.
And one of the things that we try to do throughout the project is in terms of kind of a pedestrian feel as you're walking, whether it's north or south up Huron, coming across 138th or going up Orchard, is there is a great buffer that is in there in terms of landscaping. We're about 21% landscape in terms of a percentage as we go through. One of the things that people are always concerned about is in terms of traffic flows and what could be happening here. We have three site accesses on the project. On the south side, 138th is a full movement intersection. Up here on Orchard is full movement intersection. And then up here on the north end is only a right into the project only. As we talk about any kind of deliveries or trucks, those are kind of the green and red arrows in terms of traffic that would be into our site for trucks. And then the blue and purple are really kind of representing probably employees that are driving cars that are coming up Huron and turning right into the project. For our planning area, the overall approved PDP would allow up to about 7,100 weekday trips on average. Based on our traffic study, based on our buildings and our uses, we're at about 2,100 traffic movements on average for the day. So we're about almost 5,000 trips less than kind of what was overall approved for this site.
Yeah, and just showing that up here, that top section there really shows that's from the Foster Farms, what was envisioned in the PDP. Then we've done a traffic analysis that shows our trip, and then Randy just showed this here. So when we say a net of about 5,000 less trips, that means then what was in the outline of the PDP, okay? So again, yes, it's traffic, yes, it's adding trips. Nobody's trying to mislead on that at all. But as it was envisioned, the type of uses, the intensity of that use, we are substantially less than that, right? So maybe 25%, whatever that number is. But just showing that's how we get to that, and those are real numbers based on a traffic analysis that we look at from this use. This shows, and I'll show this, and Randy will go through it. We use this chart a lot of times to do just what we talked about, what is allocated or allowed in the PDP, and then what are we doing in the OPP? Are we being transparent? Are we meeting the guidelines that were in that? So this shows just a little bit. Comp plan designation and usage, employment flex. Landscape area minimum of 21%, or 20%, sorry, we're at 21.5. Max building height, we're staying within that same building height, well within that. And then the average weekday traffic generation, again, just under 5,000 trips less than was envisioned in that. So that is really kind of our, kind of scorecard of, are we following the guidance that was put in place, what was presented by the team originally, and putting this in front of both the Planning Commission and City Council. So we believe that we're being completely consistent with that viewpoint, but honestly, we'd love to hear your feedback on that, or if we're missing something the way we're looking at that. Again, the reason we do this, and the city's so thoughtful about, even in the ODP, sharing that with neighbors, how does the architecture look, how is the buffering and landscaping, fire away. This is the process. Now the city goes through the referral. So when we say referral, I should know that. I don't know how many referral agencies within Westminster and other agencies. My guess is 40 or so different departments, experts really look at that, give their feedback back. But neighbors are a huge part of that. So that's why we're here tonight. And that probably moves us right to Q&A. So I'm happy to go back through. I know we had a couple people walk through a little bit in the presentation, so we can go back to that. We're happy to stay afterwards and just show you some of those initial images. But we'll try to show some slides, Randy, as we get questions. But folks, maybe just raise your hand or fire away with any questions that you have. Yes, sir.
I apologize, I was late, but
No problem.
is there traffic lights going to be installed on, you said there was an intersection at 138th and Huron, and then there's the other intersection, I'm not sure what that is up there. There's a light at that one already on this north end?
This is not a lighted condition. I understand that this one is along, Eric, is there one over on the side?
Yeah, when warranted. So I'm Eric Chappell with Shuck Chapman.
Eric, can you do me a favor? Would you stand up? I just got a great reminder. You all can watch this. We're recording it so we can share it back to everybody. But Eric, just so they can see it on the camera.
Yeah, so Eric Chappell with Shuck Chapman, we're the property line. So yes, we're planning a traffic signal on the 138th and Huron. That's in the master traffic study that was done with the preliminary development plan that they keep referring back to. And then also another traffic signal at 138th and Orchard Parkway.
Okay.
So kitty corner at the Lowe's corner there. So those traffic signals will go in when warranted, which we expect warranted will be pretty quickly after the commencement of development.
All right, yeah, because the traffic on Huron is pretty intense anymore, and it's getting worse and worse. I've been in the neighborhood for 30 years, so we've watched it grow dramatically.
So it's a wide road, and it's expected to have a lot of traffic.
And with the landscaping in the middle of that median, sometimes it gets really difficult to see.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, please.
What's your interaction with the city of Broomfield and their project coming up?
So that's a great question. I'm not going to just kick it to the city, but I'm guessing that there's probably a little referral back and forth. I'm aware of that. We're certainly, yeah, I'm sorry.
Who's the gentleman from the city of Westminster?
Yeah.
Why don't you answer that?
Just to clarify, you said the city of Broomfield, is that a separate project from what this is?
Well, in case everybody doesn't know it, but you see this field over here? There's going to be 300 units proposed by the city of Broomfield. That light right there, that may happen, is going to happen because they got 300 units right in that field where I can see the fire hydrants. So you guys need to be talking to the city of Broomfield because I was at their meeting a month ago.
Yeah.
The second thing I got for the city of Westminster is you got a lot of grass, right? So you got all this grass. We have the highest water bills in the country almost in Lexington. And you guys are, whenever someone wants to come for a residential tap, it's $100 grand. But you guys are going to give these guys all this water. But we need zero-scape. I'm not against, building and everything like that. What I'm looking at on this project is we need zero-scape. We need a berm on your side, not in the middle of Huron.
No, we
And we
got one on our
don't
side.
want to see all the infrastructure on the roof. We got 4 stories, we got big air conditioners and everything that's gonna go up there. I don't want to see that.
Yeah.
And with these 300 units, this is low income units over here. There's gonna be a lot of crime coming in and a lot of traffic. And guess what? They have very little parking. You guys might want to talk to them. Their parking is not adequate for all those units. They're gonna be parking in your lots.
Great.
Guaranteed.
So appreciate it.
Go right ahead, and then we'll come back and go through each one of those. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So thank you so much for your comments. So in regards to the city standards for what we're looking at for tap fees and the water consumption and everything, any development is going to be treated under the same sort of look and scrutiny. That obviously this is a different use, but the tap that larger commercial and industrial sized projects is actually way considerably more than anything that we'd be looking at from an residential perspective, and also the same sort of standards of pushing for the more xeriscape and the more water conscientious are absolutely a part of this review and something that the city looks at for the landscape technical design criteria for what they're allowed to do.
So we're gonna come answer landscaping first, just maybe our approach on that and so forth, some of the landscape palette that we're looking at there.
John, can you address a little bit
Yeah,
of that more in detail?
Yeah, if you want to kind of swing back.
Sure.
To those cross sections we got. I'm John Glover, I'm with Children. So yeah, we are proposing a berm directly adjacent to the existing sidewalk on the east side of Huron. So we went about 4 feet or so, and then we did back down to our site. We purposely did that adjacent to the sidewalk so that we can raise the landscaping up as high as possible, so that we're creating as much screening as possible between you and between our site and the residential neighborhood to the west. Our site kind of also sits about 4 feet lower than the road, including Huron, 138th, and Orchard. So we're kind of sitting in the bowl as well. So we're kind of creating extra lift to get the streets higher, kind of blocking.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Have you guys looked at the hotel up on 144? They've done the same thing, and if you drive by, it's really not adequate at this point to me to do the blocking. You see all the cars going in there, you see the trucks going in there. I think right there is a prime example we use for experience.
Yeah. So I want to come back to something you said, and we'll take that and go look at that. So we are aware generally, as you pointed this site out here, we're certainly aware of that. I will say from a traffic analysis standpoint, we call it background traffic. We look at all of the traffic that's on the roadway, projected to be in the roadway actually for the next 30 years. And that doesn't have boundaries of Broomfield, Westy, et cetera. That's just a background traffic analysis. The other thing, I'm not at all, but I just want to point out that the traffic generation that we showed, we're almost 5,000 trips under what was projected for that site. I'm not saying that means we've got a grace, great, we don't have 5,000 more trips, but we really are having a much lower intensity use from a traffic standpoint. So hopefully that helps from that perspective. Yes, it's going to that. The other thing the gentleman asked earlier, I would tell you about the speeds on Huron, and my goodness, it has gone up so much, right? As hard as it is to say, so many times us being open space or open land today, certainly not open space, actually there's no friction at the road and there is no reason to slow down. And actually seeing some development come in there actually really starts to pace the traffic so much better. So I would just tell you from a speed standpoint, obviously this stoplight will help more than anything, but having friction, having things at the road, to have that there is actually a really important part and something that you'll see naturally attenuate when we come in with the development site. Great. I think we owe some feedback, and I bet the city will say that if we're not using some xeriscaping, is it all right? Like, so the landscaping palettes, I'm not trying to miss your point there. I think we had some different thoughts on the berming and so forth, but sir, it's a great point, and we probably completely agree. So we'll work through that. The city will say some things back to us as well about that, so we agree.
Right, yeah, it's all balance between, following the landscape regulations set forth by the city, and then also, wanting to reduce the zero scape as much as possible. So actually, adjacent to the buildings, we're having zero scaping, and also on the truck boards, but, on the perimeter, we're having to do, meet the city regulations for all landscaping, things like that.
Just out of curiosity, and knowing what Dennis said here a minute ago, I'm on the board in Lexington, and so we're going through turf conversion right now, we're
Yes.
attempting to.
Yeah.
And we're doing buffalo grass, which is quite pricey and difficult. Is there any consideration of that type of grasses instead of using bluegrass? Or some other type of grass that's less water?
I think we actually are looking to do as much native grass as possible, to kind of fit the environment and kind of reduce that water use.
Because bluegrass, our bill, we spend over $50,000 a year for grass, for water and spring.
It's sure a lot more expensive to take it out and put in buffalo grass, right? Like, it's astonishing how expensive it is. Yeah. Other comments, questions? Yes, please.
Obviously, I missed a section over the last few years, but at one point in time, Westminster had a 2-story limit. On the Huron side, they could go up to 4 on the Orchard side. And I don't know when that changed. I'm worried about city Christmas.
I'll keep hopping up.
Okay. But I remember, watching one of your stories on the Huron side and go up to 4 on the Orchard side. And I guess my other comment is that there seems to be more open grassy area on the Orchard side, which is definitely more commercial in nature, as opposed to on the Huron side, which is more residential in nature. I know it's not easy to just flip-flop this.
Yeah, part of the,
One of my comments.
yeah, part of the issue on the east side, which is the Orchard side, is you've got Bull Canal in there. And that's what is causing both of us in terms of our setback there, that just has to be landscaped areas on both sides of that canal. Master developers putting in a pocket park kind of in that far southeast corner of Orchard and what will be the new 138th. And then we've got setbacks we've got to keep from the canal, which is creating a larger green space that way.
Right, and I know they keep moving the canal. Don't
Yeah.
really understand why. Moving back to where it was and put the canal on the Huron side.
It's, I know you're right, it's so much of the study of the infrastructure and so forth, so it's a very fair comment. I think you're right. We wish we could probably flip some of that. I will say the idea, almost thinking of those 4 parcels, I know as you see those images today, right? But at some point, right, you are residential here, but thinking of that kind of a little bit more of a green belt between all those parcels. So I know that's almost in the future that'll develop more, but right now I agree with you. It looks like we've pushed the green to the other side. That's not what we're trying to do. I will say that the challenge with you all have such remarkable green belt on the east side of your neighborhood and along there. There's some of that corridor we're trying to match there and almost create kind of a loop trail there.
And the reason we have it is because the city insisted on it.
Yeah, okay.
Just to be fair on that.
So they should insist on that.
Yeah, so they should insist on it with you guys as well.
Yeah, and I understand. I mean, I think we're looking at that, so I'll let, sorry, you can answer the first question.
If you could reiterate that
Yeah.
when you guys do that planning, I agree with her completely. I would be a lot more bigger advocate for this if there was a bigger green belt from here on to the back of these buildings. And I did have just one other question.
Sure.
What are you guys going to do to block infrastructure and loading docks or whatever? in
Like a
that?
screening almost.
Yeah.
We'll come to that. Since we have the city here, I think the question we were after is, did it transition? Was there an old height limit of 2 stories? I think that was the question, right, on one side
Yeah.
if we were on.
Yeah, and you brought up a great point that kind of as these things kind of go through, that there could be changes. And actually, they have it as part, you guys have as part of your presentation, the approved PDP, that would probably be able to speak to what is allowed with.
I can answer the question. So the original PDP, which was done 20 years ago, had a 200-foot wide frontage along Huron that required a 50-foot maximum. And we're still within that requirement. So we're still meeting that requirement. So for 200 feet wide, if you look at those cross sections, you'll show that.
Sure.
200 feet
I'll get there. Sorry if I'm going the right way. I think I am.
wide.
There you go.
So they are within that 200, but yet their building does not exceed 50 feet.
So we're within those limits almost, that how they step up away from distance on that. We can show, we're happy to share this, yeah.
I think you can go forward a couple to the rest of the county in terms of
This forward, this way?
kind of the site plan is probably better.
Okay. This
Yeah.
forward?
Yep. Backward. Yeah, so in terms of all these, this is kind of the truck court area, so we've put those 3 buildings so that they're all kind of in there. We've also got screen walls on both of these buildings that come out from the dock areas. On this side, that side, and this side, that screen that off along with, same thing on the south side, so from the edge of the building it comes out, other than kind of the center drive.
This does, I appreciate everybody's point about flip the side. This kind of shows the math problem, the angle problem with Orchard and Bull Canal, and why you get the landscaping there. That's really the way it is. The buildings can't be curved buildings that fit into that. So that's why that is. There's also building form now that really is more against the street, all these buildings that we look at here and how they address it. So we're meeting all those requirements. I'm not, that's just kind of the way we're trying to approach it, so. Other questions or comments?
Are these buildings for sale, or are they going to be for lease?
For lease. For lease for the most part. We think in the market, potentially Building C could be for sale for a user that would buy that.
But they wouldn't be subdivided, you wouldn't sell a portion of.
No, they're not like a condo building where we're selling portions, they're leased.
And just when you two are walking in, we think of this more, maybe describe who you think the potential, who the tenants would be,
Yeah,
the occupiers.
So for this site and kind of the infill nature of it and the size of the buildings, we really are targeting kind of the regional and local businesses that would be users in this campus. Not, you might get a national company, but more regional and local is going to be the flavor of this, kind of starting in the range of probably 15,000 to 80,000 is kind of going to be the area that we'll see users that will be coming into lease space in those buildings.
Other questions, folks? The one thing I will say is, the city's recording it. The other thing is, when we will continue, if you receive notice about this meeting, you of course will receive meeting about the Planning Commission. And also, I know most of you, if please sign up with this sign-in sheet. We're happy to just give you any updates as we move through the process, right? So we had laid out the process. Ultimately, this goes to Planning Commission. We don't know that date or that timeline yet, right? We're going through that process. So we're happy to stay in communication with all of you, certainly as the association. We're happy to share that, and you all will share that out. If there's anything else, you neighbors, or anything else, if there's a board meeting or something else that you'd like us to join you at, we're happy to do so. So just reach out to us. I'll be sure that we give you our card or communication. Actually, if you've signed up, you'll get it. We'll share it back to you. But I'll just put this up so you can take a picture of it. I think, Jasper, we have our contact. So that's our email and phone number at our office. So if you want us to come meet you for coffee or go through a presentation, we're happy to do so. Thank you on the feedback on the Broomfield. We'll look at that site for sure and just be sure that we're mindful of that traffic count and any impact. And I say that just understanding that whole process for sure. Yes, please.
When do you propose to have the secondary plan where it's submitted?
Like our response plan. So where are we at in submittals? Maybe we can catch the next one.
Yeah, so one of the requirements is that we hold the neighborhood meeting as part of the process prior to our second submission. So that will probably be going in the next week to 10 days back to the city for review.
That's the
And once
second.
you get through the process, when do you see breaking ground and completing the project?
If all goes well, we hope to have approval yet this year, and then we would probably start in the spring of 26. Part of it is letting the work that has to be done, the master developer is doing on Bull Canal relocation, start before we can actually kind of get engaged on the site. So we're coordinating in terms of timing on that.
We plan to start the Bull Canal relocation first quarter of next year.
Excellent. Okay, I think we're happy to stay here and go back to any slides if anybody wants to see them. I just want to thank you very much for joining us and going through it. And then again, I'll make sure that we set up additional follow-up meetings. So thanks to the city, you all, these are probably the three, you have full leadership here from the planning department, so to really hear your comments, incorporate all that, we appreciate it very much from the city. So thank you, everybody have a great night. Sorry we put the snacks at the front of the room, so you had to come through to get snacks. We weren't trying to shame people, so please take snacks now with you, that would be wonderful. Have a great night.
Thank you all.
I would like to get snacks, but
I'm in front of everybody. I don't think I'm going to do that.
They didn't route it over to it.
That's just horrible. So I'm a little bit confused on private service standpoint, what's going on there.
Oh, look, I don't know that. Yeah, absolutely, yeah. I already, Scott was in my office for long years. I was like, I already was like, yeah, it's out all day.
They're like,
Yeah, and the hard part there is so take a look at it. We didn't actually go through it because it's got so many arrows. It's hard, but I'll put that on the screen. Did I mess you up? Good, guys. That was our own joke that I said I was on strategic communication. I've never said that before, but I was like, I'm going to say it. Unfortunately, though, as always, I was like the only one who joked and laughed at my own joke, and I was like, oh,
being serious.
yeah, well, yeah. It was just, if I would have known what you were going into, I would have worked it in. John doesn't know this, and I know when I first went we were going through a big dedication. People that kind of do what I do, and I said, oh my God, the Lower East Side actually was like, why is it like that? There's this whole bunch of big trees and they'll be like, $15 that I wouldn't say, so I said like 2 times. And everybody was looking at me, I can't remember, it was Jacob or Jeff, somebody was like, what's it? And I was like, I was getting texts in my phone, that's money. So we got to have something going on our head. Yeah. We didn't have a meeting last night. We didn't have a meeting last night. Wednesday. God, this week, man. I don't know how to think it's driving you guys crazy. Yeah, by the way, oh my God, this is the long fast I am just like, I have something with him that I cannot
Overall,